messages too, but I think we're good. That's a good sign. I will pull up the chat and the TikTok stream on this computer. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. And hopefully you can hear us this time, unlike last week.
Hi, everyone.
Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Yes, we are.
I know what I'm following now, Aaron. I forgot.
Okay. I'm sure
it's very obvious, actually.
Okay, I'm sure I'll find something.
It is actually very obvious.
Nice. All right. I'm going to hit record and I'm going to hit our intro.
Welcome to the Fifth and Goal Sports Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Aaron, Josh, and Johnny.
Welcome to the show. Listeners, viewers, it is good to have you here. It is the season finale of season 3 of the Fifth and Goal Sports Podcast, and Josh is dead. So he's like, you know what? 19 episodes in the season is good enough for me. I'm out of here. So Josh, RIP. He will not be here this week, but which is okay because we'll give him a couple weeks to stew on some of the NFL news that happened this week, specifically one quarterback joining a particular AFC North team this week. So we will we'll probably hold off on that conversation until our favorite Steelers fan is with us. But Johnny's here. Johnny, what's going on, my man?
Not a whole lot. I did spend 5.5 hours yesterday watching tennis.
Oh yeah,
and not a moment was wasted.
Yeah.
So I'm doing well.
Yeah, you loved it. You love to see it. Wow. We'll talk about that because that was one of the best matches ever. Really. I mean, I'm not trying to be. I mean, I'm over dramatizing it a little bit, but also not really. It was a final.
Hyperbole.
Like it was epic. That was
not
a 28-3. Someone on Twitter said that was a New England Patriots 28-3 kind of deal, which I don't think is that poor of an analogy. But we've got lots on our show notes. I mean, Johnny, you put this together, and there's so much on this paper that we probably won't get to it all. But we'll start with, and again, I don't want to be over dramatic here, but I think this is the most significant move in college athletics since, like, I don't know, O'Bannon case. Like, am I wrong about that?
No, I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
It's really kind of the fulfillment of the O'Bannon case, if you think about it that way. And we'll get into those details later on. Make sure you guys know what's going on. We'll keep the jargon to as little as possible, and then really just talk about what it actually means.
Yes. If you missed it amidst the NBA Finals, the NHL Stanley Cup, the aforementioned French Open, one of the biggest impact moments happened in college sports. Essentially, we've talked about this sporadically over the last few weeks, and we've said it, the NCAA has lost every single lawsuit that they've basically been in recently. None bigger than what the House and a judge decided. I mean, House is in like of the United States of America kind of House. Because basically the NCAA was running an illegal monopoly, they now owe $2.8 billion in damages. So how they are partially mitigating the $2.8 billion with a B is that they are paying previous athletes since 2016 a piece of that pie, but they are also moving forward giving $20.5 million for athletic departments moving forward. So that was kind of a settlement they agreed on, and both sides were happy enough with that this is part of the overall House settlement. That's crazy. $20.5 million per year, mind you, Johnny. And this is for the overall athletic department. And again, you said it. We'll try to keep the jargon to common folk as we are common folk. None of this is legal advice. But this is Unbelievable.
Yeah. Amateurism is dead in
Yeah.
college sports, basically.
Mhm.
It has been, it is officially dead. Whether anybody wants to actually say that to you or not, it is true.
Yeah.
What this actually means is, so sorry if you have athletes from previous, like Reggie Bush, in 05, he's not getting paid out by this. It's just athletes who have paid since 2016. I'm sure that's just based on how far back you can go. Like, and there was obviously, this is a settlement, which means the athletes definitely asked for more, I'm sure, perhaps even further back. But this is the ultimate settlement, and that's who they're paying it to. But really, what you care about as fans is that your school is going to get 20.5 million for their entire athletic department, not just football, for each calendar year. Now, that will increase each year as well as part of the agreement. We don't know how much that's going to increase. Is it going to increase similar to a salary cap in the NFL? Oh, we don't know that yet. Now, the other question of this is, you're like, oh, isn't my school already paying this? This is on top of NIL.
Yep.
This is not totally replacing. Now, part of the settlement also was giving more oversight and overview to NIL given out by the school. And the NCAA there is a committee that is supposedly going to be actually providing some oversight, which personally for me, if done properly, very good.
Yeah, big
I
thumbs
actually
up.
think most fans would actually like that. Like, hey, let's make sure this is actually name, image, and likeness and not pay for play. Because now we have pay for play from the schools. So I want NIL to actually be endorsements, not just, hey, if you come play for my school, here's a check for $5 million, which is exactly what's been happening.
Yep.
No, nobody's surprised by that. No fans surprised by that.
And that's being run
But
through
to
something called
eliminate that,
NIL Go, which launches in 2 days from the time we're recording. So it's exactly that.
It'd be great to eliminate it. It has to be run through. And this levels the playing field in the sense of an insanely rich school, while they're not going to have, they're still going to have more resources. Like Ohio State's still going to ultimately have far more resources for football than Purdue is, because of the boosters and donors, and the NIL opportunities will be just far and away superior in Columbus than West Lafayette. That's just true. However, Purdue has 20.5 million to spend on their roster, and Ohio State has 20.5 million to spend on their roster. But that's across all sports. So that'll be interesting how you split this between football, men's basketball, and then for certain schools, that'll be baseball, softball, maybe hockey type of sport, whatever sports actually make money at your school. That can vary a lot. It tends to be 2 to 3 sports that really make money at most of these schools. So it'll be interesting to see how they divide that up as well. The one negative, I don't like being negative about it, but the one potential negative, because we don't know this for sure, is will this start to eliminate non-revenue generating sports in athletic departments? Will swim teams go away? Will equestrian, will rowing go away? Will gymnastics go away? Swimming and diving type of things. Like, will those type of sports start to go away because they're not generating revenue? They're not adding to this. And with the athletic departments having to pay out $20.5 million, like the schools are paying this directly. Let's be clear about that. So with the schools having to funnel the money that direction, will they still have the funds for those other sports? A school like Ohio State, I know, kind of already said that they're committed to keeping those sports. We'll see if that's actually realistic.
Yeah.
But it's not so much for schools like Ohio State that you're probably really asking that question. You're probably really asking that question for Wake Forest and Memphis and UTSA and Tulane and those group of 5 or slower tier power conference schools. Can they afford to still have some of those other sports? That'll be interesting. That's an unknown. It's an unknown. It's brand new. This happened this week.
Yep.
Like, we kind of knew it was coming. We thought it was probably going to get signed by the judge, and it was. So It's overall, I see it as a huge benefit. It gets a lot of stuff out of the shadows and into the light. We're going to have more oversight, which I typically might not say I'm in favor of, but in this situation, college football's run crazy right now. Nobody has any clue what's happening. There's no guardrails. Here is your first set of guardrails.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is that there's a couple pieces to this as well. Technically speaking, schools are not required to share revenue, but I think you're going to see that all of them will, because that's kind of the whole point of this. The other thing you might be asking, and this was one of the questions I had right away, is, well, what about Title IX? How does this work if you're giving the football team, like 90%, and then someone else 10%? How does that work? It's kind of an interesting balance, because schools can decide how they want to distribute their revenue, but Title IX is the thing. You can't just not give any money to the men's teams or obviously to the women's teams. So how that will be navigated will be interesting. This will probably be a
lawsuit, probably eventually.
Yeah, I was going to say this will probably be a learning curve. I'm going to take a step back and say this will be a learning curve. This is still, while it's, I agree, it is way better that there are some regulations here. We're still wandering in the wild, wild west. Thankfully, with some rules, we're not just, pistol dueling out in front of a saloon, but, a little bit more constructive and helpful than that. But this is super helpful. And really what we all kind of thought NIL was going to be was, hey, insert player here is going to participate and going to be a part of this commercial. He's going to make this amount of money. And that's not really been what NIL has been, at least at the very top. It's, be in this commercial, and then we'll work through our private investors and we'll funnel $4 million to you. That's not really what we had in mind. If an athlete appearing in a commercial is worth $4 million, then by all means, pay him or her $4 million. And that's what this NIL Go organization is set to do. So that kicks off in 2 days. So basically, if there's an NIL deal that is currently on the table by a college athletic player or team, whatever, in 2 days, they basically have to turn in the paperwork and say, hey, here's what it is. And I think that'll be helpful. Because again,
that'll be great.
Like, we do need some organization. It's not even like regulation. I mean, that's great. It's organization is what we really need here. So,
and Aaron, also, like, this might be the first step in getting some bad actors out of it too. Mm-hmm. Like, we've talked a lot about, like, we need to have more regulations than just like who's representing these athletes as well. Like, that's great that your dad or your uncle or whoever wants to represent you, but they're not qualified.
Right.
And we don't know if they have your best interest at heart. Now, you can't completely make sure that that's the case. But the NFL, you have to be certified by them to be an agent and representing your client. We need more of that type of stuff as well. So this is the first step. Maybe that oversight committee can also hey, that's fishy. I don't know about that one, because there's an approval process as well. So I hope that oversight committee also has real teeth. It'll be tested. Yeah. We'll have to see. We need teeth back in the game.
Yep.
We might not like that, hearing that as college football fans, because we think the NCAA has been far too punitive and erratic. But let's give this new system a little bit of a chance here. I hope that they have, some actual teeth to enforce these rules. But I also hope they're consistent about their punishment based on the crime, I guess, that would be committed.
Yeah. One other piece to know, and this is going to get real applicable real fast, is there are now roster limits as part of this deal, for football especially. So probably one of the unintended or maybe intended consequences is this is kind of the death of the walk-on in football, because there's going to be limited spots because of this revenue sharing. Basically, for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe it's with the math, how it works. I don't really know. I don't really fully understand, but football roster is going to be capped at 105, and that's going to be pretty strict. Right now, I think technically you have to have 85, but a lot of these schools have 120, whatever. And a lot of that's because of practice. You actually need to hopefully have enough players to do the kinds of practice that you want to, scrimmages, whatever. So that'll be something coaches have to navigate as well as part of this. It sounds like there's a grandfathering process in terms of, I don't think coaches are going to have to make a bunch of cuts right before the first game. That's good, because that would have really been bad all the way around.
I think that's a last minute clause too, Aaron. So I was happy to hear that too. Basically, I think it's a grandfather. If you're a current walk-on, you'll remain as a walk-on on the team. It just won't be any new walk-ons will be applicable starting probably this year.
Yeah.
So it won't be as strict instantaneously, but yeah, your rosters will be a little lighter.
Yep. So it's fascinating. And again, this is happening this year. This is not some NCAA thing that's taking forever, cough, cough, Michigan. This is happening now. July 1st
because
is when
it's legislation.
Exactly. This is the U.S. government saying, "Hey, you have to do this," which is it's crazy that it came to this, but also it's not that crazy. Like that makes sense.
It's not surprising.
Yeah, it's not surprising. So that's going to be absolutely fascinating, and I believe this applies not just to the group, like the big schools. I think this is everyone.
It's everyone,
which is great.
It is, but you're right, Aaron. They don't have to spend the $20.5 million.
Right.
That's the cap.
Yes.
Now, but that does allow a team like, okay, I know SMU just joined the ACC, but think about an SMU type of school in the group of 5 that has all that money backing them.
Yep.
And they're a wealthy school financially. Well, now they hypothetically have all the ability, because the playing field's been leveled out a little bit here. Not totally, but the playing field has been leveled, assuming what is in the details of this court ruling are actually going to happen. The field has been leveled a little bit here. So that'll be interesting to see. Now, that's not going to mean like all of a sudden, oh man, Memphis is as good as, Georgia this year. No. But what is the long-term ramifications of this? Georgia's always going to have more resources in general than Memphis. But is this going to help revitalize the group of 5? Because they're getting picked apart in the transfer portal right now. That's a whole nother subject.
Yeah.
We would like that to be fixed as well. But could this be something that could actually help them? Not all of the group of 5, because, we love our MAC schools, and I don't know if I see our MAC schools paying all that money.
Yeah, because again, that's coming from the schools. It's not just that money is not being given to them for free.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's from the schools. Where's that money coming from too? Like, not all of these athletic departments. Obviously, Texas is going to be fine. Ohio State's fine. USC's fine. But what's going to happen to some of these smaller schools too? And are they going to divert funds to a sport kind of like they already have in some situations that's like, hey, I know we can compete in hockey instead or lacrosse instead. Let's just focus on winning national titles in that sport. It'll just be interesting to see, because there is kind of the American and Mountain West, and then there's almost a tier below that,
for sure.
With Conference USA and the MAC, and they're just not as financially sound schools. They don't make as much, and that's okay. But I actually don't expect them to spend the whole allotted amount. Yeah. I'd be kind of surprised. Or it's spread out differently than the bigger schools.
Well, I've got a good fundraising solution. I'll share that in a bit in terms of how we can get some of those schools right up with the big boys of the SEC, the Big Ten, and all those. But yeah, that's the recap of this. I mean, this is a discussion that we could have for the full hour, and frankly, for all 20 episodes of season 4. You know what I mean? Like we
won't do that to you guys.
Yeah, we won't do that to ourselves. We won't do that to you guys. But there's so much to break down, and I mean, we don't even know, I don't think, the impact that this may have. So
lots of assumptions.
Absolutely. So look, we know that we have talked a lot about this kind of stuff. We've talked about college football playoff expansion. We've talked about the Michigan ruling, which will come out in 2 or 3 weeks. I will say, by the way, on that note, because we'll be off for a couple of weeks, there may be something that drops timeline-wise. It may be that the NCAA finally gives their ruling on what Michigan's punishment will be in the couple weeks that we're off. We'll kick off season 4 of the podcast on July 7th, I believe it is. So there's going to be some time in between then. I we neither one of us expect a ton to happen. I think this lawsuit, the NCAA like basically settling for $2.8 billion, that makes me doubt even more that they're really gonna like, oh yeah, we're still punching, we're still fighting. Michigan, take that, and Michigan will just look at them with their $20.5 million and say, ah, that's cute. We'll see. I could be way wrong about that, but if you're a Buckeye fan that's on the edge of your seat waiting for the hammer to drop, I wouldn't get too excited. That's all I'll say. So that being said, all of those things we've talked about, June can be a really depressing time for college football because you get all of the messy, kind of, I don't know, controversial topics. So Johnny and I have put together a positive, happy list of things we are looking forward to in the 2025 season. It might be June, but it's still plenty late to talk about what we're looking forward to this college football season, which will be here before you know it. Johnny, what's one thing that you're looking forward to this year?
Yeah, so one thing I'm looking forward to is early playoff dark horses. Listen, I know we don't want to talk playoff too early. This is more just of a dark horse conversation in general. You're going to think about the playoff just because it's a top 12 race-ish, but I'm fascinated this year, which I'll talk about some other thing that I'm interested in following as well. A lot of the top tier teams don't have a returning starting quarterback. So there's the opportunity for a lot of dark horse teams that have their starting quarterback returning this year, that are very talented, showed a lot of flashes last year. So those teams that just right off the top of my head, the first three that come to mind for sure, South Carolina with Lenore Sellers, Florida with Lagway, Illinois, Georgia, senior laden team just all over the place in Illinois. That's a really like trendy pick right now, which always makes me like, oh, I don't want to pick them because they're trendy for no other reason. And then Georgia Tech as well. Those four teams have their quarterback coming back, very talented teams, did not lose a ton into the draft. South Carolina did lose more than those other three. And then or are there even some others, a real outside player like Texas Tech, USC, who have the talent to be able to do something if they're able to get the right bounces of the ball. Perhaps they can still be in the hunt late in the season. So I'm fascinated to see that because Florida has a just absolutely brutal schedule.
Yeah, it's insane.
They showed up at the end of last year and ruined some seasons. So I certainly expect Florida to be right there with all these other teams. It'll be interesting. They start that season out early with Miami in the non-conference, and then how that season will progress with one of the toughest schedules in the SEC. But Illinois has a lighter schedule. They get Ohio State at home. They don't play Penn State. They don't play Oregon. And then I think Lenore Sellers is fantastic. He's a dark horse for the Heisman, in my opinion, as well. So I'm fascinated to see that very intriguing kind of scale going on with top-ranked Georgia, brand new quarterback, Ohio State, brand new quarterback, Texas, brand new-ish quarterback, like first-year starter, if you like, for all those guys. And then you have kind of that third tier of teams. You'd normally say they're actually in third tier, but they're all kind of bouncing up. So how far does that top tier come back to the pack, and how high does that third tier kind of come up? We could have a chaotic year, and I'd be fascinated by it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, you've got some others written on here too. Georgia Tech, Haynes King is back. Texas Tech is actually, I think, the betting favorite in the Big 12. But there's a ton of teams. I mean, Iowa State has.
They're like all this close.
Yeah, exactly.
In the Big 12.
Iowa State brings back Rocco Becht. By the way, look at Iowa State's passing numbers from last year. You'll be very surprised. They were actually a good offense.
Very good.
It was very good.
He's a great court. Well, they had two wide receivers drafted in the second round this last draft.
Yeah, so they bring back Kansas State. It's got Avery Johnson back. And that's Farmageddon weeks here. We won't get too ahead of ourselves, but I'm totally with you. Speaking of that conference, that's also one of the things I'm looking forward to in the upcoming season is the Big 12 in general, but specifically, folks, do you know that Rich Rodriguez is back at West Virginia? He's the head coach. Now, some of you may have lost track of what he's been doing recently, and maybe your last memory of Rich Rod was at Michigan. And I think we all know how that went. It was not super, super good. Now, I will say the year after he was fired, many of his players made it to a BCS bowl, but that story's already been told. It did not go well. But before that, you know that one Tavon Austin highlight that you should be watching every month religiously? Yeah, guess who was the coach of West Virginia during those days? During the Tavon Austin, during the kind of the heyday of West Virginia in the Big East. If you're like 15 years old watching this, you don't know any of the words I just said, and that makes me a little sad. But anyways, that's where we're getting to with West Virginia. Now, I actually think West Virginia may not be super great this year, partly because they're bringing in like 75 new players, which is absurd. But it does give my nostalgic heart a warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that Rich Rod is back on the sidelines for West Virginia. By the way, he did win a conference title with Jacksonville State in Conference USA last year. So he's been winning at other places in his second year and like their third year in the FBS.
FBS.
Yep.
Yeah.
So really impressive. Yeah. We'll see how that goes. But I love that. And the Big 12 is just absolutely insane. There are 4 or 5 teams that I kind of listed that I think could win it. And I think maybe the ACC is the same way. We'll see. But I'm excited for that.
I'm fascinated in the second year of the 12-team playoff to see how many playoff teams the ACC and Big 12 can get into. You know, we talked a lot last week just about the new potential systems. Nothing's been approved. Maybe nothing will get approved. And in and in the next year, we'll still have a 12-team playoff. That's also a potential outcome. But this could, if a deal's not struck before the season, this could be a prove-it opportunity for the ACC and Big 12 to kind of show we can get in more than 1 or 2 teams per conference. So that'll be fascinating to see. That starts in the non-conference. They're big games, especially for Miami and Clemson. Clemson plays LSU. Miami's playing Florida. Like those are massive conference games for them to play and win to put them ahead of the SEC in a potential tiebreaker scenario. So I'm fascinated. Aaron, you mentioned the Big 12. That would mean there has to be some separation. Like 2 or 3 teams have to separate from the pack in the Big 12. I don't know if that's possible. Arizona State, though, with Sam Leavitt coming back, that's another one of those teams. They did make the playoff and win their conference, of course, last year. And obviously they lost their star running back, but you have your star quarterback back. You know, BYU, starting quarterbacks back. Kansas State, Avery Johnson's back. Rocco Beck's back for Iowa State. So this is what I'm saying and gets me excited that these next tier of teams, they have all of their guys back. So expect a Heisman winner this year, guys. If you're really looking for outside bets, you probably want to look at a non-traditional power team or a team that's just on the outside of playoff odds. Because I bet you it's not going, unless it's Arch Manning, which that's just not a great bet because he's the betting favorite. You want to look at a SMU, a Louisville, an Arizona State, a BYU type of team to bring that home. Clemson feels like a surefire thing in the ACC. They probably are a top 5 team to start the season. I don't even bemoan that. But okay, and Miami's probably the second team there. Is there a third? Can SMU do that again? Are they capable? Louisville, everybody loves Louisville, so can Louisville? I'm fascinated to see in a potential prove-it situation. They have it's funny, the 2 conferences have the opposite problems. In the ACC, it's only Clemson always, pretty much. And nobody else can help them out to show up for the conference.
Right.
In the Big 12, no one can separate. They're always killing each other.
Yep.
And you need a happy medium somewhere there. So it'll be interesting to see, in my opinion, what happens in those 2 conferences. They're my favorite to watch right now, really.
Oh, I can't wait. I mean, Clemson, I think, and I know people are going to probably scoff at this if they haven't been paying attention. Clemson should be poised for a really, really good year because give me Garrett Riley,
absolutely,
maybe a little bit of a rough start, but he's now in year 3. You've got Klubnik back, in what should be his best year. All signs coming from their camp that I've read, that I've listened to, and trust me, I'm in full college football preparation mode. So it's been a lot. That's my life 24/7 if I can. it's all sounding good, and which means that they will lose their first game. But you know what I mean. They may be the team to beat in the ACC.
No, LSU's allergic to week 1
That's
wins.
true.
LSU's allergic to week 1 wins. And Clemson's got them.
Yeah. You know me. I love my group of 5. That's always what I'm looking forward to in any given college football season. I've got my proud Western Kentucky shirt. By the way, those commenting on YouTube that are like, whoa, what WKU alum? I'm so sorry to tell you, no, I just love Big Red, which apparently you can get Big Red at your wedding for $150. Did you know that? So if you're getting married,
that's it.
I think you have to be part of like the booster club, but that's a small price to pay for Big Red to show up to your wedding. Small price. And you should be, frankly, you should be a booster of Western Kentucky anyways.
Did you see Grimace took a trip down to Bowling Green?
I did. Yes,
Grimace
I did.
Grimace took a trip down to Bowling Green this week. Good old, family get together.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Where was I going with? Oh yeah, group of 5. I'm excited to watch the group of 5. Boise State loses Ashton Genty, so they're going to be bad, right? Not necessarily. They return a ton of production, which is highly unusual for a group of 5 team that has that much success. Because, usually they get picked apart by the transfer portal. It wasn't that horrible. So I'm very interested to see how they run in the Mountain West. I'm interested to see kind of the typical American teams that we've kind of gotten used to. Memphis was very close to competing with Army and Tulane last year. But they'll be right in the mix again. South Florida is trending up. Of course, Tulane just seems like they, sit there and are just super consistent. Johnny, you wrote UNLV down as a team. Obviously, they were in the Mountain West Championship, so that's something to
expect them and BYU to go right back at Boise State to go right back at each other. Both again returning quarterbacks. Again, returning quarterbacks not always a good thing. But all these teams I wrote down, their quarterbacks had really good seasons.
Yeah.
So that's the purpose there. Tulane, South Florida, and Memphis, though, those American teams really get picked apart. Those 3 specifically got torn to shreds. But they usually are still the class of the American and reload. So it'll just be interesting to see who steps back up in that situation. Or if you have the, military academies taking it again because they're the only ones with a consistent roster.
True. Yep. Not dabbling in the transfer portal one bit. I will also throw in a team because I can't go a college football preview and not talk about the MAC. I love some action. You've got Ohio as the defending MAC champions, but they lost their. I don't know if I've told this story. I probably did the night of the championship because I got to cover the MAC championship again this year, and so on the field for the trophy ceremony, like the whole thing. It was awesome. In the post-game press conference with both coaches. So I'm with Tim Halbin after the game, and he's talking to all the media there and just going on and on about how meaningful this is to Ohio, because it was their first conference championship since the 60s, which is insane because it's not like Ohio's been bad. They've had a lot of chances and they just couldn't get it done. They got it done this last year. So I'm in the press conference. It's all cool, warm, fuzzy feelings. Go Bobcats, the whole thing. OU, oh yeah, I guess is what they would say. So then I hang out in Detroit for a little bit that evening, get a bite to eat, and I'm driving home. I have not made it home yet. And the news breaks that Tim Albin has departed for Charlotte. That's how fast some of this stuff moves. Coaching changes, transfer portal. So Ohio, we'll see how they do, but obviously there's some key missing pieces there, although they're still going to be pretty good. But the MAC team I'm really interested in, which I also got to cover, and Johnny, we actually got to cover it together, was the Toledo Rockets, because they bring back Jason Candle. His teams have been really good. They've won some MAC championships. Tucker Gleason is back at quarterback. And usually the problem with MAC schools, if we're looking at the playoff picture or just even a conference championship, is usually MAC schools just get decimated by their non-conference schedule because they're trying to pay the bills. They're doing what a team in their conference has to do. It's not horrible for Toledo. Like, yes, there's a game at Kentucky. Okay, that might be tough.
They destroyed Mississippi State last year.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Then they host Western Kentucky, go Hilltoppers. Then Morgan State. Later in October 25th, they go to Washington State, which is fascinating. But we don't really know what Washington State's going to be because they're kind of out in no man's land, both literally and figuratively.
Lost the quarterback again.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean, we'll see. They do have to go to Miami this year. They go to Bowling Green in the MAC. But if there's a team, if the MAC's going to put a team in the playoff this year, I do think it's going to be the Toledo Rockets. So I am very excited to watch Group of Five football. Give me those Wednesday, October games with Conference USA playing. Give me some freaking action in November. I want it so bad, and I'm excited that it's drawing somewhat near.
What is it, like 11 Saturdays till?
Yeah.
Like we're not that far. We're almost to single digits.
That's right.
The last thing that I'm following is just piggybacking off what I said earlier. You know, I talked about those kind of third tier teams that had moments last year having the ability to step back up, and potentially that first tier dropping back down to earth. So what I'm really following early in the season is what first year starting quarterback steps up on these big name teams. That's potentially Julian Sayin at OSU, potentially Ty Simpson at Alabama, potentially CJ Carr at Notre Dame, Gunnar Stockton. I know he played some in that SEC title game and in the playoff, but it's now his team, his offense at Georgia, and then Arch Manning at Texas. I know now he's obviously played the most out of any of these players because Texas had a package and Quinn Ewers got hurt last year, so he's actually had to start and play full games. But it's his team now. Expectations are there. Texas lost a ton of production all over the field. And what's fascinating with some of these is, you know, week one, Julian Sayin, Arch Manning in Columbus, you know, right away, people will be jumping to some insane conclusions after week one about both of them.
It won't be us.
Good or bad. Yeah, good or bad. So I'm fascinated. Do any of them step up? Are they relatively mediocre? Does one drag the team down? You know, CJ Carr is very young for Notre Dame, you know, but Notre Dame has a lot coming back. They're poised to have another great season. So it just Kalen DeBoer, you know, Ty Simpson's still not his recruit originally. So, like, but what's that look like now? Second year, Kalen DeBoer after what was ultimately a disappointing season at Alabama. I'm fascinated to see Gunnar Stockton. Georgia could not run the ball last year. Everybody talked about how bad Carson Beck was playing. His wide receivers couldn't catch, and his running backs couldn't run. So, so now you have Gunnar Stockton, who's not as a polished passer as Carson Beck. And the weapons haven't necessarily gotten better. So fascinating things happening at the Blue Bloods top echelon. And then those teams just below them, you know, having that returning presence at the quarterback position and leadership. I'm so fascinated to see what happens here. I also could have included Oregon in here. I should have included Oregon as well out there, first year starting quarterback, although he played most of the season at UCLA. But I'm fascinated to see what happens there and if we can get some chaos or one of these quarterbacks steps up. These teams, you know, at their talent level and their rosters, they could run away with it at the top. Yeah. We've seen it plenty of times in college football. It easily could happen. If one of these guys is as advertised, they could take and run with the college football season as well.
It's perfectly timed for us to hopefully have some, I mean, parity is really what we're searching for. Because while I do feel like the 12-team playoff does water down the regular season a bit, I think the conference races are going to be absolutely absurd. And I think we're going to be sitting there watching each Saturday, trying to figure out who's good. And good meaning like who's elite. Because there's a lot of teams that we've mentioned today that are going to be good, probably, unless they have a Florida State moment. But who are the actual championship contenders? And I think that's going to be wild. And you're right. There's going to be some insane conclusions drawn in week one, because that's my last thing I'm following for this upcoming season. Folks, make some plans so you can cancel them. And I'm telling you, I'm giving you plenty of advance. I'm almost 3 months early. And I'm telling you, do not make plans starting on August 28th through September 1st or 2nd, maybe. Because on Thursday,
Labor Day.
Yeah, just don't do anything Labor Day. Tell your family that you died. I don't know. Do whatever you got to do. Because on Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, you know what we get to start with? Boise State at South Florida. Give me some Group of Five love. That is a great way to kick off the long weekend. You've got a random neutral site game between Nebraska and Cincinnati. On Friday night, Georgia Tech, who I think could be a sneaky pick in the ACC, goes to Colorado. Yes, Colorado lost Travis Hunter. Yes, they lost Shedeur Sanders. But amidst all the noise, Dion won 9 games last year. He has fully turned Colorado around. And if you don't believe me, look at how terrible Colorado was before he got there. Regardless of what you think about him, it's amazing what he's actually been able to accomplish. And we'll see if there's a step forward this year with those missing pieces or not. By the way, you also have Auburn at Baylor on Friday as well. Then Saturday, of course, Ohio State, Texas at noon. That's a no-brainer. Alabama at Florida State is fascinating at 3:30 because what on earth will Florida State look like this year? We'll find out. If they get beat 50-3, Dion might be at Florida State next season. So that's something to watch as well. At 7-ish, you have, actually it's 7:30 LSU at Clemson. We talked about that. Obviously, you should stay up for Utah at UCLA. Do you miss the Pac-12? Well, stay up until 11 p.m. Eastern time and watch a game from the Rose Bowl on Fox. Of course, you've got the Hawaii
Week 1
test.
after dark.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hawaii playing at the early hour of 10:30 at Arizona that week. Then Sunday, not one but 2 games. Virginia Tech at South Carolina. That should be very fun. Notre Dame at Miami should be very fun. What will Miami look like post Cam Ward? And then finally TCU at North Carolina, which is wild for so many reasons that we haven't talked about.
Interesting.
And will not until we get a little closer, because will he even be the head coach by then? You can, I don't know, who knows, but yep, that's week 1. So I'm looking forward to so much about college football, but we start off with the bang, because honestly, maybe these games won't even be good, but the storylines, regardless of what the football is, are going to be good just by themselves. And then you throw college football on top of it.
This is one of the best lineups we've had week 1 going into it. Yeah, you can't promise good games, but there will be some in there somewhere. And there is always a random upset lurking that you don't see coming.
Yeah. The styles between Brent Key and Deion Sanders, just polar opposites, and both great. I'm excited for it. So that is our hopeful, positive outlook for the 2025 season. Now, will there be some complaining and annoyance and controversy between now and then that we will probably yell at you? Yes. But you know what? I'll say that we typically don't hear a lot of comments from you all like, guys, give it a break, which I think means you actually all agree with us, which might be more of a point against you than us. But anyways, Johnny, that's the college football. Real quick, NBA, NHL finals. We are heading into game 3s in both series, and both have been very fun.
Yeah, they've been awesome. I mean, it's the best first 2 games I think I've ever seen to open a Stanley Cup final. But one going to overtime, one going to double overtime, and having winners in each game. Florida winning one, Edmonton winning one, going back to Florida now for games 3 and 4. I'm all in on this. Listen, I have nothing against Edmonton, but I think it's hilarious that Canada can't win a Stanley Cup, so I am kind of cheering for Florida. And then Indiana did it again, gosh, in game 1. It made me so mad. But I was getting mad at people on Twitter beforehand that they're like, oh, see, the devil magic wore off on the Pacers. And I'm like, stop talking. Yeah. There's 8 minutes left in this game. Indiana, of course, storms all the way back again and hits basically a buzzer beater win. Like just ridiculous. And then OKC responded well last night. With that dominant, basically it looked just like game 1, except the fact that they continued pushing in the 4th. And that's the key with them. They've really forced Indiana to make a lot of turnovers with their speed. So I think overall the Thunder are trending well, but this is why I said in 6. Indiana finishes games so well. Those moments are not too big for them. I would still be kind of surprised if Indiana didn't win one in Indianapolis and we're not 2-2 coming back to OKC.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. It's we got game 3 tonight in the NHL, which is very exciting. So we'll shut up so we can go watch that. But first, we got to do some picking.
Sometimes the guys make picks based on their vast knowledge of sports. Sometimes they make picks based on vibes.
After much soul searching, after looking at a map, I have come to the conclusion.
Okay.
It's the Cavs. The Cavs. My Cavs, Josh. That's who you have, right?
It's the Cavs. It's the Cavs over the Nuggets. Yes, you got me.
Either way, they're probably going to be wrong. It's time for Picks of the Week.
Well, it feels a little wrong for me to be introing this segment because I'm about to throw my own victory lap. Let's go. Last week we picked the French Open, and I just blindly and completely luckily picked both winners because I just picked Alcaraz and Coco Gauff because they're my favorite tennis players on each side, respectively, and they both won. Now, that does mean our scoreboard is myself with 12 points. Johnny, you've got 8. Josh has 8. It's the last episode, so I have officially clinched the Season 3 Picks of the Week. I get a star trophy that's misshapen and says, "You're done it," and I've never been excited for anything in my entire life. But I'll
slam the door shut.
Yeah, I did. But you know what? I'll put
shut.
my own interests aside and my opportunity to brag. And instead, Johnny, I will turn it over to you because you said at the top of the show, the best 5.5 hours you've spent was watching that incredible men's final. Give us some insight into what you watched because I was doing other things. I was tuning in when I could, but you were dedicated and were locked in. So I mean, talk to us about that. That was unbelievable.
I missed plans I had Sunday afternoon because I got so locked in and distracted.
Yep.
But so coming in, so first off, for the French Open, they could have not asked for a better scenario where the 1 and 2 seeds ended up playing each other in the men's and women's final, and you got excellent matches both times. Like I picked both runner-ups, so Aaron's picks really pulled through for him. But my picks actually also won the first set in both matches as well. And if you're familiar with women's, they play best of 3. Men's, they play best of 5. So Sinner from Italy and Alcaraz from Spain, they're facing off in the French Open final. So if you're not familiar, once again, I said best of 5 series with sets. So you have to win 6 games in each set to clinch it. So the first 2 sets, Sinner wins 6-4, 7-6. So if you get to 6, you do a tiebreaker to win because you have to win by 2 games technically. So tiebreaker, Sinner wins that. So he wins the first 2 sets. You're thinking he's golden. Alcaraz had literally never won a match before in a major tournament when he was down 2-0. Never. All right. So then Alcaraz comes back and wins 6-4 in the third set. All right, very tight. You're expecting that. Also, this was just excellent tennis the whole time. There were very few mistakes. It was like who had the crazier shot that ended up winning out, which is just so fun to watch. Then in the fourth set, and this is when Sinner looked like he had it, world number 1, you think he's about to slam the door shut. He's up 5-3. He's up 40-love. You have to score 4 points to win a game in a set. You have to get to 6. He's at 5-3. That means you have 3 championship points to win said match. Because you win the set, you win the match. 3. Alcaraz is serving, but Sinner just has to win 1 point. That it's unheard of to get 3. That normally doesn't happen, especially when you're not serving. And Alcaraz goes on a tear. He comes all the way back, gets a deuce, ties it, wins said game. It's 5-4, so you're still like, okay, that sucks for Sinner, but he still just needs to, he's serving now. He just needs to win this game. And he blows it. Alcaraz ends up winning that set totally. And then in the 5th and final set, Alcaraz breaks Sinner serve earlier, and you're like, oh man, Sinner's just fried, man. He has nothing left. Sinner makes a comeback late in that set. They're tied 6-6, and you have to go to a 5th set tiebreak, which means first one to 10 points wins, and Alcaraz pulls through. You can see every single set was so brutally competed. It lasted 5.5 hours.
Oh,
it's one of the longest tennis matches ever, especially in a final. It broke all kinds of records. But I was enthralled. If you ever watched tennis too, one of the best things about it, if you hate commercials, there's no commercials.
True.
There's almost no commercials when you're watching tennis, especially a final, because the players take very few breaks. Like there's no timeouts. The coaches can't help you. You know, you get a chance to drink water when you switch sides. That's pretty much it. So it was phenomenal to see the cardio and endurance and the mental fortitude. That's normally what beats you in tennis before your body even gives out, is just you mentally break. It was outstanding. It's one of the best tennis matches I've ever watched. I tweeted afterwards. I just said, wow, like I was kind of worried, like where's tennis going? I think we all thought that with Federer and Nadal and Djokovic is almost retired, you might say. He was beaten in the semifinals in the French by Sinner. And you're like, ooh, like what's going to happen to tennis? These two are young kids. So I think we're in a really good spot. Hopefully we get a lot more of these matches. I hope they remain on opposite sides of the brackets at these major tournaments, and we get to see this more often. So I was just thrilled. I kind of was cheering for Sinner a little bit, but I also don't have like a big favorite yet, like I did with Federer with the big three previously. But we're spoiled. We're spoiled to have them right after. Like we kind of thought there might be a gap. There's basically been almost no gap at all with these two coming in right after the big three.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Hey, before we leave this segment, you can join us on YouTube, TikTok, and or Facebook. I don't know why you'd be on TikTok and Facebook at the same time. That seems like that's problematic, but you can join us live every Monday evening. We typically kick off the show at 6 p.m. Eastern time-ish, depending on what technical difficulties we have. So Austin did exactly that, and he asked, I need the anti-hype look at Colorado, which is a great comment because I think it's difficult to find a take on Colorado that is not either overly hyped or overly critical. So, Austin, I will do my best to give you the anti-hype, but also anti-hate take on Colorado, because the last 2 years, 2 years ago, we were dead on. We thought they would go like 3-9, 4-8. That's exactly what they were. Last year, we thought they would go about 6-6, and they vastly outdid our expectations. So what's realistic for Colorado in 2025? Well, it'll be interesting to see how they kind of patch the obvious holes left in Sanders and Travis Hunter. But I think the more interesting thing perhaps is the schedule, because there's teams like BYU that I think are going to skate by with double-digit wins fairly easily. Meanwhile, you've got Colorado's schedule. They play that game against Georgia Tech. It is at home.
Very tough.
Very tough, though. That'll test the defense right away. And also remember, Colorado's offensive line was dreadful. That's
my biggest question.
And this was and I'm not exaggerating, the worst rushing offense in college football last year was Colorado. The worst. There were 134 FBS teams. They ranked 134th. So that's the biggest question, because Sanders, as much as he probably shouldn't have vocally and publicly criticized his offensive line, he wasn't wrong.
He was not wrong at all.
So bad. So
and we said it at the time.
Yeah. Yep. Wasn't wrong. Just probably shouldn't do that in front of the media. So that's kind of the overarching thing. But that's week 1, Friday night, 8 p.m. on ESPN, Georgia Tech. They play BYU. They're home against Iowa State. They're at Utah, who I don't think will be as bad as they were last year. Then they play Arizona State and at Kansas State at the end of the year. Oof. Meaning they get every single, at least on paper, that we think now in June, potential Big 12 contender for a championship. So the schedule doesn't necessarily do them any favors. And, if a team like West Virginia is suddenly and surprisingly good, they're also at West Virginia in November. So I think how they navigate the schedule, can they stay healthy? Will that offensive line, really both lines, defensive line and offensive line, will they provide enough physicality to get through what is a physical Big 12 conference? This is not your Baylor TCU 62-59 game of years past. This is more of an Arizona State, like Cam Scatterbu going to run the ball into your skull. Kansas State, same vein. Iowa State, even though they've got a better passing offense than years past. That's what we're talking about here with the Big 12. So hopefully that's the relatively anti-hype, anti-hate Colorado take. We'll have more as we get closer, some actual record predictions like we do in July, August, September. So we'll give that to you then. But Austin, there you go. There's the maybe anti-hype take.
The guys spent hours scrolling social media, and they found some pretty dumb stuff. Now they want to talk to you about it.
You get like 10 extra points per sport if you also fire a rifle at a target. Like for any and every
Just any sport.
And you get sports.
LeBron for three and then pulls out a rifle and shoots a target.
Yeah.
Good luck. It's time for What We're Following.
Well, Josh might be dead, but from the grave, delivering a good moment. You know what else is dead? My brain. Because you know what we didn't do, Johnny?
Make picks.
No, we didn't make picks. Oh, no. We didn't make picks. It doesn't really matter because, the season.
And I got that point.
Yeah, the season's over. But
sorry, I'm surprised you didn't pick Scotty Scheffler.
Well, we'll see. The U.S. Open's happening this weekend. The rough is rough from what I hear. So if you thought the rough was bad at Muirfield, apparently at wherever they're playing this in Pennsylvania is quite significant. So I'm going to pick Oberg to win it just because I've already won. So I'll go on a plus 3,000 odds to win. But I like Oberg a lot. He was close to winning a couple big tournaments last year. Not quite as good of a season so far. But I'll mix it up because you're right. Scotty's the favorite, as he should be, and frankly, I'll kind of be rooting for him.
And I have Scotty.
Yeah,
I know nothing. I'll pick Scotty.
Yep. So there you go. Those are the picks that are going into the abyss. We'll get Josh's thoughts. Maybe again, it doesn't really matter. We'll run it back season 4 though. The scoreboard starts fresh. Hey, we're gonna need a new prize, so let us know.
Yeah,
and it's undecided.
And get to go to the Waffle House.
Yeah, the Waffle House may be up for grabs in season 4. Johnny, what are you following?
So what I'm following is jail because I'm putting several people in it today. Wait a minute,
I've got jail too. Should I play the sound? Jail sound?
You should.
All right, here we go.
They put you in jail right away. No trial, no nothing. Right to jail, right away.
All right, the jail's open, Johnny.
Jail's open. The cell door's open.
Yeah.
We're ready to push some people in there, turn the lights out, throw away the key. Because the NBA Finals, which I am not remotely the first person to say this the past few years, right, but it's kind of come to a head this season. And I know social media can be an echo chamber and not real life, but I think this is real life. Because the NBA Twitter and fans kind of bullied people into wearing the T-shirts these playoffs again. It was awesome. And shout out to these two fan bases, because even the rich people in the front row, they're wearing the T-shirt. I love you, OKC. And Indianapolis, I expect no different. So keep wearing those T-shirts. It looks so much better. But that's all the fans can do. Adam Silver and the NBA are failing the fans trying to watch on television and in the arena because there's no aura left of the NBA Finals. You remember the logo patches on the jerseys, which I know they still have, but they don't even look the same to me.
Yep.
There's nothing on the court. Nothing. There's nothing on the court. You see YouTube TV advertised like in 5 different places on the scorebug in places, and no, you only get this tiny little thing on the side saying it's the finals. There's no player intros like shown before the game to make it seem bigger, right? Like you do that before a World Cup match. You'll do that before Champions League final or the Nations League for hockey this year. Like you do that when it's a really big event, right? You show the national anthem, you show the player introductions, like make it a big deal. and they don't do any of that. There's no Larry O'Brien trophy on the court anywhere. The script finals is not on the court. Well, there was no Larry O'Brien trophy on the court until last night, game 2. They heard our complaints and they came back with a clip art version of the Larry O'Brien trophy that looks like something you'd have to ask Clippy the Clip on that notebook. You know, it'd pop up with the googly eyes and like, do you need help with this? Yep. And that's what that looked. And it was only digital on the court because whenever they showed a replay, you couldn't even see it, which means the fans at the game couldn't even see it. There's no script finals anywhere. It's terrible. It's a terrible. There's no Mark Jackson. Like, I think it was Nemhard who hit that crazy 3 over SGA. He cooked him at the very end of game 1 at that comeback. There's no Mark Jackson anymore saying, may I have this dance, which is all that moment needed on a replay. Just atrocious. These are easy wins that I don't understand.
Yeah,
why they right. And honestly, I thought the digital version of the Larry O'Brien trophy looked worse than doing nothing.
Oh yeah,
because it looks so cheap and fake. And they're like, we want player safety, no stickers. You changed an entire court out for the in-season tournament. I don't want to hear a dang thing about that. Put in new court with it painted on. That's not that hard to do. You're the NBA. You signed a crazy billions of dollars of media rights contracts. I think you can pay to replace the floor for 2 teams who made the NBA finals. Anyway, sorry, rant over on that part. Part 2 of jail is today I heard that CONCACAF rejected Greenland's bid in the Soccer Federation. Jail to CONCACAF. You're going to be put in jail many more times this year, my friends. Jail. Greenland is part of the North American continent, and I want Costa Rica and Trinidad and Tobago to have to go up to Nook and play in a blizzard. And I want those Eskimos from Nook to have to come down to the jungles of Costa Rica and El Salvador and melt in the humidity and the heat. That if that's not CONCACAF, I don't know what is. And so they have gone against the ethics, the morals, and the essence of what makes CONCACAF such a wildly stupid soccer federation. So jail to leadership at CONCACAF. Also, I don't even know what Greenland does at this point because Europe denied them, North America denied them. Like, where are they supposed to go? Like Oceania with New Zealand? Like, what?
Yeah, that's tough. Maybe they make their own federation and then just hey, we want our federation. World Cup us. Tough.
Yeah.
Tough.
Tough. We're in.
Yeah. Hey,
they're
this
going to
time
expand
next year,
it, and they're going to get their own spot every year.
Yes.
In the World Cup.
Yep. The Greenland Auto Bid, which new band name I call it. I'm also throwing. Now I had to be careful. I had to tread carefully here on who, or as our favorite college football podcast host would say, whomst I am throwing into jail because there is video footage leaking everywhere of the new college football NCAA football 26. Maybe straight to jail for calling it NCAA football 26 when it is the year of 2025. So maybe that might just be stock games. That's not like the worst thing ever, but come on, like that. What are we doing? I know Madden does the same thing, and that's probably what. Anyways, dumb. So
don't follow Madden. People who play Madden would hate Madden.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't follow them.
So one of the issues I'm seeing with the game is, number one, it seems to be basically a copy and paste version of last year's game, which surprises nobody, which is fine, whatever. But there's footage now being shown of the Texas A&M Yell. What do they call them? The Yell. Shoot, what is their names?
The Yell.
Yeah. And it's just as bad in video game form as it is in real life. Look, I'm
accurate. Okay.
Well, it is very accurate. I, as a Buckeye fan, know that we've got some weird traditions, right? Like just being called the Buckeyes. The Buckeyes are a nut. We've got a mascot that's just a nut running around beating his head, and we've got a drum major that bends his back over so his head touches the, like, there's some weird stuff, right? Like Ohio State only knows how to spell our name, right? Like there's admittedly some weird stuff, objectively weird stuff that Ohio State does, as there is for every college football team. Like Florida State, maybe we could learn more than one song and every, 1 yard rush. But I get it. Like, you do your thing, whatever. Clemson touching a rock and then running down a hill at breakneck speed and wondering if Dabo's going to survive. It's interesting, but you know what? It's not my deal. I get it. You guys do you, taking a long 5-minute bus ride to the stadium for no apparent reason, whatever. Like, that's your tradition. You guys love it. Awesome. I can't get on board with Texas A&M's yell leaders at all. There's no redeemable quality for me in that at all. I can't. Give me any other tradition ever in college football. Yell leaders? No way. So I think I'm just straight to jailing Texas A&M for being so cringe.
Yeah.
But it's so cringe I can't look away. It's like my eyes are bleeding.
Aaron, we do have to. So when you first wrote down this topic, what I thought you were actually going to talk about, and I thought you were going to actually give out a get out of jail free card, was because that EA Sports, which makes the game, is going to give.
Yes.
And maybe you know more about this.
Oh, I do.
Than I do as on what you're giving. But they actually are going to give money based on what team you are playing as.
And that's why I said I wanted to tread carefully when I was throwing people in jail. Because I think, because you're right, Johnny, I think I just want to throw Texas A&M in jail. Like,
yeah,
slightly EA Sports for even including such. I mean, is that even appropriate for children? Arguably, no. But yes, according to On3 Sports, EA Sports College Football 26 will now pay schools based on game usage. So last year, NCAA College Football 25, it was based on the percentage that was allocated to each school was based on the general popularity of each school, which also makes sense. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
But now it is directly based on game usage. So, for example, and I don't think this is like the actual equivalent money-wise, but let's just play this example out. If users play 7 million games as School A, the school's allocation would be roughly $50,000. I don't know if that's actually the right numbers, but that's kind of the example. So, if you are a fan of a smaller school, rally your friends, rally the internet, because we are here to help. I tweeted out that I will single-handedly generate $50,000 for Western Kentucky. I will play 7 million games as the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. I have no problem in saying that. This is awesome.
You are wrong if you play for a major school, though.
Yes,
on
you
the
are.
Game.
Yep.
You are wrong for that.
Yep. At least, at the very least, you have to start in the group of 5 and work your way up like any man would. That's the rules. Those are the rules. So I absolutely love this. I can't wait because I know the internet is just waiting because this comes out in basically a month from today. The internet is just sitting on pins and needles, and someone's going to go viral with the team that they are picking, and everyone's going to rally behind it, and some school is going to make bank, which is awesome. I hope it's like rice or something. I mean, just
I hope it's food. That'd be great.
Yeah, make it rice. Make it I don't know. I mean, a Mac school is great. UMass would be kind of hilarious. But
Akron
also
needs help.
Yeah,
help out the Zips.
They do need help because they're not even bowl eligible. Yeah, that might be their reward for being not good at school. I don't know. But anyways, that's that. So I am thrilled that NCAA Football 26 is coming out. Let me know on Twitter, by the way, or YouTube or TikTok or wherever you're watching. Are you going to buy this game? Especially if you bought NCAA Football 25. Because right now, where I sit, knowing the price of video games, knowing the price of a rival console that just released that is quite expensive, but I do want it at some point, I'm trying to figure out if it's worth it. But also being able to directly pay college football programs through my screen time is an insane thing that I think I have to partake in. So I probably will be buying the game, but let me know if what your thoughts are. And if you are buying the game, what school are you going to generate funds for? I want to know. Maybe I'll jump on the bandwagon of your favorite team. So that's what I'm following. I'm very excited about that. Very excited. So we'll leave you with that. We'll leave you with happy college football. That's hopefully the goal of this podcast. There's some just huge moves being made. But hopefully this is a reminder that at the end of the day, college football will be here. It will be amazing. It'll be awesome. We'll be talking about it. And that's what we'll spend most of season 4 on. So again, I'll look at the calendar and make sure I've got the right date. But yes, our first episode of season 4 will be live on July 7th and then should be coming out on July 9th on all of your podcast platforms. So until then, we'll obviously be around. We'll be posting videos. We'll be on social media per usual. So follow us on all the platforms. But listeners, viewers, thank you for watching and listening to this season. Once again, you all have set viewership and listening records for the show, which we cannot thank you enough. So thank you for making this show possible. And we look forward to running it back in season 4. So for Dead, Josh, and Johnny, and myself, have a good one. We will talk to you next month.
I won't be around.